Okay, thank you everyone and welcome to the December 18th Select Board meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So just so people know, this meeting is being broadcast on ECAT Live. It is being recorded and what was I just going to say? It's hybrid. So people can call in on Zoom. If somebody is on Zoom and they have a question, please put your question in the Q&A. Sean will be keeping an eye on that, and we will relay the questions to the board. We would need your name and address for our minutes. And I'm sorry, I'm just a little distracted, Adam. The green light's flashing and giving me a little bit of strobing. There we go. Thank you. All right, so first I just want to have the select board introduce themselves to ensure we have a quorum, and we'll start with you, Jamie.
Jamie Stebbins.
I'm Jennifer Stacy.
Mark Lamb.
I'm Dottie Fulgenetti.
Craig Barger.
So the first item that we have on the agenda tonight is timed. It's a 6 o'clock joint meeting with the school committee to interview and appoint a new member to the vacant school committee position with a term to expire April 20th, 2024, pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41. We do have the school committee here. I'll have them introduce themselves. And just before that, I want to say that thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate that. And we, when we call somebody up to the candidate, will sit at that table. Please just be very careful of those chairs. The front of them bow out a little bit, and I am always one to trip over those, so if you're not used to it. And we're going to turn it over to Jen, and you're going to kind of lead us through this.
Okay. All right, so let's do intros.
Sure.
Okay, Jennifer Starr, Chair.
Nancy DeLuca.
Jackie Wiseman. Lauren Loomis.
Okay.
Right.
All right, great. So first of all, thank you to our three candidates for your interest in being appointed to fill the vacancy on the school committee. You have all received a copy of the questions as you entered in tonight so that everybody has a sense of what we'll be asking. There's no gotcha here. So we'll just have the candidates come forward. We'll go alphabetical order by last name. So that will start with Kelly Percio. So Kelly, I invite you to please come up.
This is like shocking.
Oh, great. Hi, how are you?
Good, I didn't trip, so we're good.
Great. Alrighty. So Kelly, can you please tell us briefly about yourself and your experience or relationship with Easton Public Schools?
Sure. So I have 4 kids, for those who don't know. 2 are technically my stepkids. I have known them since they were in preschool in Easton Public Schools and in first grade. They are now 23 and 22. So I have been through all of the schools, at least once, minus Center School. I now have a 13-year-old who's an 8th grader at Easton Middle School, and I have a soon-to-be Blanche Ames student. He is in a preschool in Canton right now. So I have been through all the schools quite a few times. I used to run the book fair at RO for a period of time. I was volunteering in the classrooms for quite a while. I've been on the various PTAs throughout the years, so very eager to continue my time at the schools.
Okay, great. Nancy, can you take the second question?
Sure. Why would you like to be appointed to the Easton School Committee?
I feel like after being through all of the schools for a number of years and seeing some of the challenges the teachers have faced and the kids have faced over the years, it would be a great opportunity to serve and to provide and to give back. My daughter, she had an opportunity for us to come to the school committee to work through one of the opportunities and challenges for her, and the school committee was able to help us through what we were working through in terms of the rules. And I really feel like after all the years I've spent with the teachers and the students and the programs, it would be wonderful to serve on the school committee and be able to provide support to the school system.
Okay, great, thank you. Lauren, can I ask you to take the third question?
Sure. What is your understanding of the role of the school committee in public education?
Sure. To provide support and guidance to the school system, the administration, and to ensure that we are able to fairly support all students of all the different capabilities that they have.
Great. And Jackie, can you take the fourth question?
Hi, Kelly.
Hello.
What do you think are the most pressing needs of EPS today?
We've been working through, so I'll come to it more later, but I have been supporting my son's school through all of the COVID programs on the board there. And I really feel like the kids and the teachers and everyone involved in the school system is still figuring out how to come out of COVID and what that has done for the students, the programs, academically, athletically, just the funding and support that we have has changed. Everything is just a different universe. I can compare the experience for my middle schooler with my older two. Obviously, time has passed, years have passed, but I do feel that it is important to continue to invest in the programs, to find the right way to use our limited funds to support them, to provide support to the teachers and the administration, and also to deal with the pressing issues of the schools. I know my daughter told me when she came home, she said, "Mom, there was a leak at the middle school today." We have a beautiful school in Bland James. I was part of the committee to try to help get that built. But I know that there's still things that need to be done to support the schools, including, the middle school and the high school as they start to age.
Okay, all right, great. And Dottie, before we cycle through again, did the select board want to ask questions, or are you comfortable with
We're comfortable. This is your thing,
Great.
so we're just here to, we're here for the ride and to listen
Awesome.
and deliberate with you.
All right, thank you. We appreciate that. So the school committee generally meets 2 Thursday evenings each month, which of course we're throwing a wrench in because we're meeting on a Tuesday this month. And then members share responsibilities for representing the committee on several established and ad hoc subcommittees. These additional meetings can be held during the day or the evening, and it's not unusual for committee members to have weeks with 5 to 10 hours or more of school committee obligations. Do you feel that you have flexibility in your schedule to be able to commit the time needed to participate fully, and how do you anticipate managing limited time?
I do work full-time. I run data strategy for a pharmaceutical company, but I am very fortunate that I took a job that I work from home. And my company has a wide range of flex hours because we have folks from the UK to California. So as long as I am able to block my calendar, I am able to step away for meetings and events. So as long as it's not completely ad hoc, I am very much able to make those plans. And my household is very supportive of me being able to give back to the school community. So we have already looked at the calendar and made sure that that would work out for the remaining calendar meetings that are coming up.
Okay, great. All right, Nancy, do you want to take the next one?
If you were appointed to this position, do you know if you intend to continue to serve by running for election in April?
Absolutely. I had intended, once my son entered Blanche Ames next year, and I was no longer serving on the committee for his school, to be able to apply the next time there was an opening. I have great respect for all the existing committee members, but if someone were to step down, I was intending to apply. So I am absolutely intending to serve for quite a while. I have many more years to go in the school system, so I have plenty of time to be able to give back to the community.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Lauren, do you want to take question 7?
Sure. Do you have any experience with policy budgeting or supervision of someone in a leadership role?
Yes, so for the past 3 years, I have been on the board for my son's school. He goes to a Montessori school in Canton that my daughter had previously gone to and my oldest daughter had previously gone to. So in a similar regard, I thought it was time to give back. So I've been the treasurer of that board for the past 3 years and been working closely with the head of school, dealing with all of the supervision and guidance. We do her year-end review and all of that. We also do obviously the planning and budgeting as treasurer, so handling all the financials for that. I work through their PPE loan forgiveness, some grants that we've been working through for the schools, the applications. We just distributed one of the grants actually as a bonus for the teachers. We were able to get a grant that we could use as an extra bonus, an incentive for them. So we've been working through restoring our financials post-COVID for quite a while, and I've been doing that for the past 3 years, and we'll be wrapping that up in June. So very much so.
Great. Okay. And Jackie?
Please share any additional information that you think makes you a great fit for this role.
Sure. So I think many of you know, I say that because I've run into many of you through the years, but I've coached, I help run some of the programs for my daughter's dance team that she's on. I've been pretty committed to the community for a number of years. I look at Dottie when I say it because I coached her daughter at one point. So we've known each other for a very long time. Our girls are the same age. So I've been very involved in the community for a while and with kids. I do hold a role in data strategy. So I spend a lot of time with data, and I know that comes up when we're dealing with kids and trying to figure out what are the policies, what are the trends, what do we need to consider. Also looking at the financials and making sure that we're paying attention to those. I am a multitasker. I spend a lot of time working across project management and programs for my company as well. One of the reasons that I love working in a pharmaceutical company is because of the mission and purpose of delivering to patients. And that's one of the things that calls me to also be able to help in the school system. I've been in this space for 9 years now. I was a consultant before that. And it means a lot to me to have a purpose when I get up every day and go to work and I'm working with exciting things like data, which I actually find exciting. So it is, for me, an opportunity to continue to do that. And I think just knowing that, my kids have gone through a lot through the school system. I've had kids who've been in the athletic programs. I have kids who have done National Honor Society, Junior Honor Society, gone through IEPs and 504s. We've been the full gamut of experiences, taken advantage of many of the school services along the way. So I do have a ton of appreciation and respect for the fact that all the kids are different. I also know that when I was dealing with, my son's school, it's important to represent the needs of all the families and parents in that process. We had a lot of discussions on masking and not masking and when to stop masking and how to manage all that. Some parents didn't agree with the decisions that the committee had to make, and some decisions had to be made that weren't the best for my child, and that was still the right thing to do because it was the best for the kids. So I am very comfortable with that and have had to navigate that before.
Okay. All right, great. Anything else before we let Kelly go? Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I just want to, if anyone from the select board at the end has anything that they feel they wanted to ask and didn't miss, but I think the school committee did a great job on the questions, so just flag that and let Jen know.
Thank you. All right, so next up is Colleen Proudler. All right, good to see you.
How are you?
Good. Do you guys have power?
We do.
Okay, lucky you. All righty, so we will go through the same questions then. So please tell us briefly about yourself and your experience or relationship to Easton Public Schools.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I have 2 children, both of whom attended the Easton Public Schools. My oldest is off at Purdue, and my youngest is going to graduate this June. Both of my boys had a really wonderful experience with Easton Public Schools. My oldest son was more involved in sports, indoor track, cross country, outdoor track. My youngest is very passionate about the Easton Public Schools music program. But even though they had different experiences, they were both great, and I just would really love the opportunity to give back a little bit so that other kids can continue to have the great experience that my boys had.
Okay. Go ahead.
Why
Second
do you
question?
want to be appointed to the Easton School Committee?
Well, as I just said, I would like to serve in order to let other people continue to have that great experience. And I think I bring a really strong professional background to the role. I've been an educator for 30 years, so I have a lot of industrial knowledge, if you will, about what it takes to be a part of a school system. So I thought that in that way I would be helpful.
Thank you.
Great. Lauren?
What is your understanding of the role of the school committee in public education?
Okay, so the role of the school committee is to advise the superintendent and the assistant superintendent in financial matters, curriculum matters, really looking at that budget for next year and making sure that the school system has everything that it needs in order to support the students in Easton Public Schools.
Okay. Jackie?
Hi, Colleen.
Hi.
What do you think are the most pressing needs of EPS today?
Well, I think the needs of Easton Public Schools are very similar to the needs of most of the school districts across the entire country, if not the world. We are still dealing with the ramifications of the pandemic and the budgets. So I think there's a lot that goes into that. I looked at the strategic plan that we have here in Easton, and there was the four components about academic achievement and student and staff wellness, educator evaluation, and curriculum. And the one that really resonated the most to me was the student and staff wellness, because I feel as though that really, it touches everything. It permeates all of the other three pieces. And when I think about something that almost seems disconnected, but like say facilities, for example, if you don't have buildings that are clean and safe and secure and welcoming and comfortable, then it's really difficult for students to achieve. It's really difficult for teachers to put forth their best effort. If you don't have a schedule that allows teachers to plan, not only plan and prepare, but also to collaborate with their peers and to have the appropriate amount of time to work with kids, it makes it really difficult to increase achievement for all groups. It also makes it difficult for teachers to really perform at the highest level. So I think that part of what's difficult in the schools right now is really making sure that we're giving the support to the staff and giving the support to the kids in order to make sure that they're able to achieve at the highest levels.
Great. Okay. So the school committee generally meets 2 Thursday evenings each month. Members share responsibilities of representing the committee on several established and ad hoc subcommittees. Those additional meetings can be during the day or evening, and it is not unusual for committee members to have weeks with 5 to 10 or more hours of school committee obligations. Do you have the flexibility in your schedule to commit the time needed to participate fully, and how would you manage conflicts?
Yes, I do have the ability to do that. My evenings are free. I do work full time, but as long as I know about something in advance, I'm typically able to make some sort of an arrangement or an accommodation in order to attend and participate.
Okay. All right.
If you were appointed to this position, do you know if you would intend to continue to serve by running for election in April?
Unclear. I will be honest with you. I am very interested in serving in the school committee and helping the schools. I would want to see how it went before I would fully commit to that.
And Lauren, can you take number 7?
Do you have any experience with policy budgeting or supervision of someone in a leadership role?
Yes, I do. So I was a building principal for 17 years. So in my role as a building principal, I worked closely with my assistant principal and my staff. So I did have a lot of opportunity to do supervision. I had to come up with the budgeting and manage that for my own building. In my current role as an associate director of human resources, we work a lot with school committee policies. I'm tasked with working with all of our new substitute hires and making sure that when they go to orientation with me, they're familiar with the school committee policies that we have in the district where I work. I also work closely advising many of the building principals, the district department heads, the assistant superintendents in matters surrounding human resources. So I am comfortable with that, and I have had experience with it.
Please share any additional information that you think makes you a great fit for this role.
All right, so when my kids were younger, I didn't really volunteer often in the schools. Maybe something for the classroom, but I was kind of caught up in my own world and just being a mom and a parent. But in the last few years, I mentioned earlier, my son's really involved in the music program. So I have had the opportunity to volunteer for as a marching band parent, and I will refrain from bragging on the Oliver Ames marching band. But it's been an amazing experience being able to go to all of those meets and those events, working with such a great group of parents, working with the staff in the schools, working with the kids, and just seeing how all of that hard work and all of that dedication really kind of comes together and is so meaningful for so many of our students. And then I also have been involved in Tempo. And while I'm just a member of Tempo, what I love about it is it encompasses the entire school district. It's not just Oliver Ames or the middle school, it's everybody. And it's just such a wonderful organization that supports so many of our kids in so many different ways. And I see how important that is to the kids. And I would love to be able to involve myself in something in Easton Public Schools that would capture even a wider scope of kids and families and communities.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Thank you. Okay, and John. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. All right. So please tell us briefly about yourself and your experience in relationship with Easton Public Schools.
Sure. So I worked for Easton Public Schools for the past 10 years. The most recent 7 years, I served as Director of Technology and a member of the Cabinet Committee. And that pretty much sums up my experience at Easton Public Schools. Policies, budgets, all that fun stuff.
Okay. Go ahead, Nancy, the second question.
Okay, we'll do this fast. Why do you want to be appointed to the Easton School Committee?
So my kids now, we decided to move to Easton last year, and they're just entering that school age. My my middle is in kindergarten. And, I've worked for the district for 10 years. It's a great opportunity to not only give back, but kind of like be there to guide the process while your own kids are going through the system.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, Lauren, can you take question 3?
Hi, John. What is your understanding of the role of the school committee in public education?
Sure. So the school committee oversees the superintendent and guides policies on budgets, crafting policies around engaging with different union members, receives award, like oversees the awards that kids win and stuff like that. A little bit of fun stuff sprinkled in. But generally crafting the policy, the budgets for the district itself, and overseeing the superintendent.
Thank you.
Hi, John.
Hi.
What do you think are the most pressing needs of EPS today?
Budget. So providing an equitable education experience for all kids, but also balancing like which buildings need their roof fixed first. What are we going to do about tracks, technology purchases? Budgets are always a challenge, and that was a big component of what I did for the school system when I worked there was balancing capital and operating budgets.
Okay, great. You've probably heard the question about the commitment of time.
Yes.
So I won't read the whole thing, but
Sure.
Do you have flexibility in your schedule to commit the time needed to participate fully?
Sure.
And how would you manage conflicts or limited time?
I generally make my schedule, so that wouldn't be an issue. The Thursday nights that you guys meet, it looks like I'm wide open, which is nice.
Okay.
If there was a conflict, I could typically reschedule my calendar.
Okay. Right. Nancy?
If you were appointed to this position, would you intend to continue to serve by running the school committee in April?
So I was on the fence about running this April, and I've been talking to a lot of folks. Do I run? Do I not run? And then I saw this open up, and I said, "What a great way to like get a taste." And then if it works out, it ends up being a positive experience. Run for it in April.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Great. And Lauren?
Do you have any experience with policy, budgeting, and supervision of someone in a leadership role?
Yeah, so policy and budgeting. So we did a lot of like the nuts and bolts, security policies and InfoSec policies and all that, technology policies. Budgeting, I oversaw the budget for all the technology in the Bland James building. It was around $1 million. Secured the federal grants for the COVID relief funds for just north of 3,000 Chromebooks for kids. I can't say it was a fun time, but we got through it. So yeah, a lot of policy experience, a lot of budget experience. And now same deal, like as director in my current position, I oversee policy for InfoSec changes, if we need to do budgeting, procurement of stuff in different countries. And it all comes down to like, if you let us know about it ahead of time, we can work with it. If you don't, it can be tougher, but we just try to work with people.
Thank you.
Please share any additional information that you think makes you a great fit for this role.
Sure. So like I said, my middle child was approaching school age. I'd worked in the district for 10 years. We had really looked at all the communities between Woonsocket and Easton, and we chose last year to move to Easton because we really believe in the community. A shameless plug, like I still have a pulse on the system because my wife's a teacher in the district, so I always know what's going on. But we really did. We had a choice of towns that we could have moved to, and we chose Easton for the schools.
Great. All righty. Thanks so much, John.
Awesome, thank you.
Let's see. So before, I guess we move to the next phase, do any select board members or school committee members have any other follow-up questions for any of the candidates? No? Okay. All right. So this is the...
Three very good candidates.
Really do. So do you want me to turn it over to you, Dottie, then?
Oh, no.
For-
Well, I will say
discussion,
that we're
or-
used to doing a lot of appointments, and it's really, even for regular board and committee appointments, it's probably the most stressful thing that I feel that we have to do, especially when we do have great candidates, when we know the candidates. So I don't envy the decision. We're going to lean on the school committee because you're going to work with the person, and I think the best thing to do would be for you to deliberate and make your comments, and then if we have anything to add, we can do that as well. It will be a vote by every member here, but I'm going to pass this over to you, Jen.
Okay, so Jackie, I think you're the only one of us who's been through this process before, right?
Yeah, twice.
Okay.
But, it was a while ago, obviously, and I don't remember really deliberating very much. I think we all listened to the candidates, took our notes, and then voted. But I'm happy to have a deliberation if there's anything you all want to talk about, or if there's anything that you think needs to be clarified from what the candidates said, there's something that you're missing, a piece of information that you think you need to have.
This is so awkward to be discussing.
I know, it is. No, it
People who are
is.
in the room.
It's
just like to
very-
acknowledge that.
And just to let you know, the first time before I became school committee member, I applied for the finance committee. So I've been through, I had to sit here and do this whole thing. I understand how uncomfortable this can be, so I apologize for
I
that.
think because you say that, Jen, if you wouldn't mind saying your story too, because
I was going to save it for the end, but it's a really fun story. So I always tell this to any candidates who come in, because we have awesome candidates come in, and the hardest part is picking one to move forward when there's so much great value anyone would bring. I moved to Easton in 2017, and at the year mark talked to a colleague of mine, and he's like, you should run for your town finance committee. You'd be so good at this. And I'd be like, what does finance committee do? Looked it up. Oh, there's actually an appointment for a position. This is cool. I don't have to put myself up for an election. I can try to get in this way. So I applied, get the call, scheduled, and the nerves kicked in. So I had a beer at home and kind of try to get myself calm down. All it did was made my face bright red. So I go in, and there were two other incredible candidates. Both of them ended up serving on the finance committee ultimately. They get up, and the second I started hearing Tim Bomosi speak, I was like, oh man, I would vote for Tim myself. He's awesome. And then Davis Healy speaks, and I'm like, no, wait, he's awesome too. And then I have to speak. And it was the most horrifying, nerve-wracking experience of my life. And I'm not exaggerating. It was really nerve-wracking. And everyone had, there's a range of warm faces, and then there's some not so warm faces. And there's a lot of faces. So you're just, trying to reconcile it all. The long and short of it was Tim Bomosi got appointed that night. And I kind of went back to my seat, and someone was like, don't worry, I'm going to see more of you. And I was like, okay, yeah, I stayed for the meeting. And at the end, people talked to me and said, run for election, just do it. And I was like, I need to think about this. And over the next couple of days, I came to terms with the fact that I was going to run for election, and I did, which was one of the next hardest things I ever did, but I'm very glad I did. And here I am now on select board, and very happy to be serving the community in this capacity. So,
Great story.
yeah.
And if I can add,
yeah, go
if I
ahead.
can add
Yes.
to that, my story is similar to yours, except I didn't have a beer, I had wine. But I was the first one up that night, and I think there were 6 people, and probably Jackie, you were probably one of the people that were voting that night. And needless to say, I went first, and I think there were 6 of us, and I did not get put in there. And I remember Caroline O'Neill running out and saying, Nancy, we really liked you. And I said, I'll be back. And that following April, I ran, and so now I've been here for quite a few years. And also, it's so funny because like Colleen has that education background. I was a teacher. My sister is in the system. So John's wife is in the system. So there's a lot of paths that are crossing here. So it is very hard to just pick one of you. But hopefully it will all work out, and we'll pick the right person and we'll move on.
Yes.
Because we do need that 5th person. It is very hard with 4. It's very hard with 4.
And I will say to whomever does not get appointed tonight,
Don't give up.
yeah, please don't. Please stay in touch with us. Please stay in close contact. If you are interested in running in the future, please reach out. And please stay involved because you all have a really valuable background and experiences, and any one of you would be great in this role and would really benefit the committee. So, it's been a fairly steady team for a number of years, but, that doesn't last into perpetuity, unfortunately. I'd like to, we'd love to freeze time sometimes when you get a great team that's working together. But, there's always, there's turnover eventually. So, so I definitely encourage, again, you could be, the next Nancy who, runs, and here you are. So, or the next Jen. Yeah. So, okay. So do we want to move towards?
Is there any questions that you guys
Executive
had? Anything that
session?
wasn't answered? Any? I can't think of it. I think your questions were really comprehensive.
Thank you. Well, they were, luckily we had, I went through the minutes of the prior 2 times we appointed somebody and pulled out all of the questions from that, kind of distilled them down to the ones that seem to have been asked again and again. So, so hopefully that does cover everything. So,
I think to me, probably one of the biggest differentiators is whether somebody's going to run in April, because once you bring somebody onto a board for 3 months or 4 months, whatever it is, it's really hard. I remember when I was first elected to this board, and after my first meeting, I was like, wow, it feels like I've been here forever. I feel like I'm fitting right in. And Dan Murphy was like, really? Because that's not what it feels like on this side. It's really like, every time there's a new dynamic in your job or anything that you do, I feel like it's valuable to be appointed to this if you're going to run again, because it really does. It makes a big difference to the dynamic, and to, that's not a guarantee that the person who runs would get elected either. If all 3 people wanted to run, that would be, but that to me is like the biggest differentiator.
There's a lot of training involved as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that I've been on the board for a little over 6 months now, and there's still so much I have learned, and so much that I still have to learn, and that I learn every day.
yeah, and there's a commitment of, MASC has a requirement to complete this course called Charting the Course. It's a 6 or 8 hour day that needs to be done within the first year, so that, it certainly makes sense if you have somebody who is going to join for a short period of time to have that longevity after, again, assuming that they were to run successfully for election. Because it's like we move fast, we do a lot, but it's still 4 months is kind of a blip on the radar.
Totally.
In the cycle of what we do. But it would certainly be an interesting time to join for whoever does get appointed, because we are going to go full steam ahead right through budget season, and so it's definitely a busy time, and we certainly roll our sleeves up and get a lot done over the next few months. So, okay. So,
How do you want to do this?
do we want to do our normal order?
As far as
As far as,
and
yeah,
just choose who you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So
yeah.
that means I'm first. Thanks, if you don't mind. Okay. That's fine. And I understand what Dottie just said, but my choice is Kelly, not because she would want to run in April, but I like her. Okay. Like all of, she's got the 4 kids that have been through the schools, and not to say that if you have littles or bigs that are already out or whatever. Also, I liked her, the participation in the PACs and things like that, which I think Colleen did too. My vote is Kelly.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so Wiseman's next.
Yes.
I'm also voting for Kelly Percio for a lot of the reasons that Nancy said, also because she seems to have a wide gamut of experience that I think would be useful to our board between budgeting and all of her work with the PTAs and just being involved with all the different schools, kind of knowing the ins and outs of how that works as well.
All right, and then going through our normal roster, right? So I'm up.
You're up.
Okay. Boy, this is tough.
No kidding.
It's really
I don't
hard.
like this. Nobody resign ever again while I'm on the board.
There you go.
I will vote for. I'll vote for Kelly as well, and I think leaning most on the differentiator of I know that you have been interested in this role for a long time and have been deeply committed to seeking the next opportunity to become a part of the committee. So to me, that stands out as, you've stayed in touch and have been, we know that you have a commitment to this. So to me, that is a differentiator today. Okay.
You're up, Lauren.
Oh, goodness. I can honestly say that I feel like all 3 of you were great candidates, and I picture myself working very well with all 3 of you. So I'm not going to vote. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't be afraid, Lauren. You can do it.
I know. No, I really think that they were all
It's hard.
all
This is very hard.
3 really, really great. I really don't know.
Would you like us to make decisions and let you think, or should we're going to force you to make a decision right now?
No, you can force me. I will also vote for Kelly. I appreciate that there's the personal history of having the children in the schools, and also the young kids that are going to be going through the schools.
All right. Craig.
Yeah, I'm going to break I'm going to go in a different direction. I think that it's very important from my perspective to have somebody who's had 30 years of public school experience. Not only that, I've known Colleen for a number of years, particularly when she was sitting in this room in 2016 and 2017 when we were having a heck of a time in this town. And she was willing to stand up for what we all believed was the most appropriate thing to do in this town and how to go in the right direction. And with due respect to my good friend Dottie, whether she runs or not, I think she's the best candidate to be on the school committee. And so that's my Colleen Proudler is who I support.
Mark.
Lamb Percio. How was that?
Lauren needs to take lessons from
Just 3 great candidates. I hope we see them again for other, openings that, and I hope you all run as well. Stebbins, Proudler.
Stacy Proudler.
And Fulgenetti, Percio. So who added those up? I think what we would,
6 to 3.
Do we need an actual roll call
yes,
vote?
so we need somebody to make a motion, and then it's a roll call vote.
Okay, so how do I word the motion?
Just, you move to appoint Mrs. Percio to a term of, hold on one second, let me just see. Where am I here? For a term to expire April 2024.
Okay, so I make a motion to appoint Kelly Percio to the Easton School Committee for a term to expire on April 20th, 2024. Can I get a second?
DeLuca second.
So that is Starr and DeLuca, and then we'll do a roll call vote, and we're just going to go all the way around this way. So,
DeLuca, yes.
Star, yes?
oh, you say the
You
person's
gotta say
last
the
name.
person's last name.
Okay.
What?
DeLuca Percio.
Oh, DeLuca, Percio, yes.
Star Percio.
Barger Proudler.
Fulgenetti Percio.
Lamb Percio?
Stacy Proudler.
Stebbins, Proudler.
Loomis, Percio.
Wiseman, Percio.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you. Congratulations. And the town clerk will reach out to you with instructions about getting sworn in and so forth, and the schedule. I hope all 3 of you will consider running in April. It'll be a good opportunity. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take a, okay.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn the school committee meeting?
Wiseman, so moved.
And second?
Second.
Okay.
So that's Wiseman and DeLuca.
All right. Roll call vote.
DeLuca, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Star, yes?
Great. And we're going to take a 5-minute recess before we come back to session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Connor, do you want to lead us into this? The DPW announcement for the PFAS filtration treatment plants are operational and permitted by the Mass DEP.
Sure. Thank you, Dottie. Really happy to report this news that folks who follow us online or go to the town's website might already be aware of, but we wanted to also make sure to announce it at the meeting for anyone here and anyone watching at home, and also to give recognition to DPW Director Dave Field and Water Operations Manager Rich Tierney. If you'll indulge me, I'll just read through the notes that are prepared in this packet. That almost 4 years ago exactly in this room, in November 2019, the Select Board hosted the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection to brief the public on the discovery of then unregulated substances found in our water supply, which were per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, which I could not say 4 years ago, also known as PFAS. Easton had, like many other water suppliers in the decade leading up to that, already been testing for PFAS as part of the United States EPA UCMR 3, but at that time what was more common was testing on what's called a part per billion scale. So when we would do those tests, it would come back showing non-detect because we've never had PFAS at that level. Only when we began moving as part of permitting for well construction at the DEP's suggestion to then novel thresholds of testing on a part per trillion basis did any amount of these contaminants register. And although at that time Mass DEP had not yet regulated PFAS or established a maximum contamination limit for PFAS, which it would go on to do in the future, the town wanted to publicly discuss the subject as part of what would be I believe even at that time what we forecast would be a multi-year effort to educate the public on the subject, communicate plans for addressing it, and ultimately mitigate it. And since then, voters of Easton have repeatedly supported all the steps that have brought us to present day, starting with PFAS preparedness engineering studies in 2020, voting to support design and construction funds in 2021. The board became one of the first in Massachusetts to join a multi-district litigation nationally against the manufacturers of PFAS. Concurrent with these efforts, Easton's leadership in this area has been regularly recognized on a regional and state level, both through best practice demonstrations to municipal professionals around the state, through my association, through the Director of Public Works and other public works associations, but also been recognized on the state level at the Massachusetts legislature, selecting Easton as the sole municipality on the state's PFAS Interagency Task Force, whose work spanned 2 years and produced a report to the legislature outlining recommendations for legislation that's currently ongoing at the state level for how to regulate PFAS more holistically throughout the Commonwealth. Throughout all of this, construction here in Easton was ongoing. I've often joked that as we're building Blanche James and seeking approval for police, fire, public works, these projects were kind of quietly rising in the woods. So we're really pleased to announce that after a minor delay this summer due to switching of the filtration media for 2 out of our 3 plants, Easton DPW Water Division, as of December 1st, has delivered and operationalized all 3 of our PFAS water treatment plants for wells 1, 2, and 4. Due to quarterly testing being backdated, folks will still receive 1 final notice in January, approximately, saying that we're in violation, but that'll be reflective of October, November results. Moving into December, as we're getting now, those are at a non-detect level. So there's no action required of a board, but again, I wanted to bring this to your full attention, of the public, and to thank the public for supporting these projects, but also to specifically thank Easton DPW, particularly Water Division Operations Manager Rich Tierney, who, when we were hiring for this position, we really focused on folks who had experience with water treatment plant construction. I don't know if we were as forthright as maybe we ought to have been with you, Rich, about how much we needed to build. But Rich has been basically running multiple millions of water plant construction projects every minute since he joined, and he's done a hell of a job, and we really appreciate it, as well as Director Fields. So not to put you two on the spot, especially because there's only 1 chair, but you could pull a second one up. Anything you want to add or the board wants to add? I know Rich is probably not your
Just pull another chair
your
out.
preferred.
Happy to share our story, but I give a lot of accolades to the support that the community has given us, because the right leadership helps guide me in knowing that the message I bring to the public here helps me to focus my mission, which is get these facilities online. And I do need to share my staff's support and undertaking and their conviction to get the job done as well, even though we had letdowns and we needed to persevere and get these facilities tested and online. So a lot of credit to the community, a lot of credit to my staff, and I couldn't have done it without both.
Yeah, I echo Rich's comments. I mean, Rich and his staff did a great job getting this done. There were a lot of setbacks, a lot of things that we really couldn't anticipate getting in the way of the project, got in the way of the project. But we were able to get through that, and we're now at non-detect and looking towards our next PFAS project.
Great. Craig.
It was kind of nice today. I got a phone call from one of my neighbors who said, "Hey, I went to get water at the water facility on Bay Road and it's closed. Why is that?" I said, "Because the PFAS plants are operational." I should have told him to come to the meeting tonight, but I said, "You mean I can drink the water now?" I said, "Absolutely." So it was kind of exciting to be able to do that. So thank you for both you and David for the work you've done.
Mark?
Yeah, same. This project would not have been done without you guys either. I think you guys were probably the most instrumental in making this successful. Hard work, patience, years long, being one of the first communities to do it. This was all because of you guys. So I tip my cap. The community thanks you. I thank you. Fantastic job.
Jen?
This is one of those moments where I'm really, really proud of our community, and you guys were really the drivers of getting this done, on the ground, making this happen. And like you said, it wasn't easy. It was not a linear path many times, but it's really exciting. It's encouraging, and it's something I don't take for granted. You don't have to look far at other communities and talk about water quality, which I guess that's something we do in our middle age. But we're lucky to be ahead of the curve on this, and that comes from citizen input, it comes from strong leadership, and it comes from folks like yourself and everybody else who contributed to this. So it's just been really exciting seeing this positive news over the past couple weeks, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rich, Dave, and Connor as well for being the first municipal leader appointed to the state PFAS task force. That while the goalposts have moved again, and we know that you guys will continue to be at the tip of the spear in terms of that as well, and keeping us ready to adjust. That is a warm and fuzzy for me, and I know that you guys forward engineered some of this project, which not everyone knows yet, but they will learn when that next federal level is pinpointed in whatever the state guidelines that follow. So thank you.
So I just want to say that I think that when a project like this ends and it's great and everybody's excited, it just looks so easy. Like, hey, guess what? We have a couple new PFAS treatment plants. And I think back to that night when Mass DEP was here. Most people didn't even know what PFAS was. We were just learning about it and how dangerous it was and how bad it was. Mass DEP didn't even know really how to answer our questions or what was going to happen at the time, how the federal regulations were going to come into play. We were kind of the guinea pig of this. And then to be on top of all the big projects that we were already in the middle of, like, hey, by the way, now we got to build a couple more treatment plants, and we don't. Where are we going to get the money for it? And like just fitting it in, and it looks seamless when we're on this side of it. But it was so much work. And when you say you had setbacks, of course there were setbacks. Nobody else had done this before. So, the technology, we were staying ahead of it. But even as we were making it, some of the components were very hard to get. Some of the specs changed because we learned, because we were ahead of this, that some of the things that we thought would work didn't work the way we expected. And you just had to have the flexibility to zig and zag when you needed to, and to have this come out so successfully in the amount of time. I mean, it really was a short period of time. It's super big congratulations. And again, like everyone had said, I really do want to thank the people of this community for supporting this at town meeting and realizing how important it is. And I think we're in really, really good place right now. So thank you very much.
It's be a wonderful planning school, like case study. Like it just has all the makings. So
We look forward to hosting, people for a ribbon cutting at some point, hopefully in the new year, and then maybe a larger celebration when Red Mill Road comes online. So
I was going to say, I look forward to seeing Rich, driving down my street going to Red Mill. So.
Well, and I think Red Mill's not far behind. Red Mill's slated for January.
Yeah, we'll be before you with a change order for time extension, just due to, again, lead time issues, things like that. We're working through startup and testing, but we're working to get that up and running soon. But final closeout will probably be closer to February, March. But we'll be able to have a nice ribbon cutting after that.
In the spring.
And I think it's probably worth mentioning again that because of this, you've taken the water out of Bay Road. So that will be the biggest question that I've seen is it safe to drink the water? So it is safe to drink the water now, and we can discontinue that, and people will get a postcard. Don't be worried about it. It's from the October-November timeframe.
Right.
Correct.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for today as well. I know you've been out all day.
Okay, so we now have a continuation of a public hearing that we have had a couple of meetings on. I don't know the date that we opened the hearing, but what we're going to do at this point is there's nobody here for public comment on that. Sean, there's nobody online? Okay, so just recognizing that. What I would recommend to the board is that we vote to close the public hearing, and then we will deliberate in executive session. We will come back in January 8th is our next meeting, and we'll take a vote in public about what we've deliberated on for this. So if that's okay with everyone?
Yep.
All right, so can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
That's Bodger and Lamb, and we'll do a roll call vote on closing the hearing, starting with you, Craig.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. Okay, and we'll take the executive session when we get to that part. We'll announce it's partly for this as well. All right, did I miss anything, Connor?
No, that is
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, next we have the annual service recognition for retiring, departing employees and board members with 15 years of service or greater. The town of Easton wishes to acknowledge the long service of numerous employees and a former board member who served each served the community for 15 years or more and left service this calendar year 2023. As is the board's tradition, each individual listed will receive a plaque commemorating their long service and thanking them for their contributions to Easton. What I'm going to do is read one of the plaques, but I do want to mention the names and also the reason that we chose to do this once a year at the end of the year is a lot of people are coming and going during the year. A lot of people have celebrations and they've already gotten their plaque, so to ask people to come back, it can be a little bit cumbersome. So I do want to recognize that the names are Leonard Coe, Police Sergeant, 27 years of service, Stephen Hamilton, Police Detective, 24 years of service, James Luke, DPW Mechanic, 18 years of service, Timothy McPeck, Police Officer, 15 years of service, Beverly McRoberts, Police Officer, 24 years of service, Greg Strange, Planning Board and various committees, 18 years of service, and Caroline O'Neill, 30 years of service. And everyone will receive one of these beautiful plaques that say, in consideration of your many years of professional, exemplary, and committed service to the town of Easton, the town administrator and select board extend their most profound thanks and appreciations for your dedication to our community with the year. So, and it will have each person's individual name on there. So we do want to thank everybody. It's amazing to see so many people with such longevity in our system. Another reassurance that Easton is a great place to work. So any other comments or questions on that one? Okay. Next is a Planning and Zoning Board update. The scheduled public hearings and information sessions, January through March of 2024, related to the MBTA zoning, and anticipated to be presented to the annual town meeting for adoption on May 20th, 2024. All information available regarding MBTA zoning is at www.easton.ma.us/MBTA zoning. Do we have?
The planning staff are at Planning Board and Conservation Commission meetings at the same time as us, so I could fill in Dottie if you would like.
Sure.
So as the board is aware, in response to the state's ongoing housing crisis, the state passed legislation in 2020 amending Mass General Law, Chapter 48, known as the Zoning Act, by adding a new section called 3A. Section 3A requires the state's 177 MBTA communities, of which Easton is one, we'll get to that, to establish at least one zoning district that allows multifamily housing by right. The multifamily district must allow a minimum of 15 units per acre and cannot impose restrictions on unit size or numbers of bedrooms or age. So while Easton does not have a MBTA piece of infrastructure proper, we don't have a train station or a T station, it applies to not only those communities, but also communities that are adjacent to communities with that infrastructure, which does include Easton. So Easton and the other 176 communities must update our zoning to comply with this law, and we're targeting the May 20th, 2024 annual town meeting to do so. We are in a roster of communities that cannot adopt these updates later than December of next year. Municipalities not in compliance with the statute will become ineligible for several significant state grant programs such as MassWorks infrastructure programs, and the Attorney General has also issued an advisory that communities must comply with the law or risk liability under federal and state fair housing statutes and cannot simply avoid compliance by not seeking grants. The Planning Board and the Planning Department are finalizing planned public meeting and hearing dates for January through May leading up to town meeting. I have them here that I could read through, but I think we just cycled power again, so I don't know.
So we just lost the
We lost the hybrid, but it's still on ECAT. Okay, great. And as with any zoning change, the planning board has public hearings on these. Folks can come and submit testimony and learn about the zoning. And there is a dedicated website, again, which is easton.ma.us/MBTA zoning. The meetings are January 10th, planning board meeting, January 29th, another planning board meeting, February 12th, February 27th, and then March 12th. So pretty much every planning board meeting moving forward in the new year, the MBTA zoning is going to be a main topic of discussion. For folks just kind of tuning in, following along, one of the things that's really important here is that in Easton and most towns in Massachusetts, very, 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 very little multifamily housing has been developed for decades outside of kind of pockets of development through 40B. And one of the types of housing in greatest shortfall throughout the state is multifamily housing, whether that's condos or rentals. These are just types of housing that have functionally been prohibited, if we're being honest, by zoning in Massachusetts for decades. And that's why the state took this action, among many others. And so it's not a building mandate. That's really important. Municipal government doesn't get into constructing government housing or public housing. It's a zoning mandate, which means that we would have to create areas and places where this zoning is allowed, and it's up to private property owners to decide if that's what they would like to do with property they already zone. Just like any zoning, if you currently have property and then zoning changes, it doesn't force you to change what exists, right? This basically is future looking. The goal is that over time, throughout these 177 communities, which is more than half in Massachusetts, that as time progresses, we will see more diverse housing for folks of all ages, abilities, and incomes so that they could comfortably find a place to live, because right now that's an incredibly hard thing to do for many.
So just to add, in our master plan and in our housing production plan, it talks about the people in our community for years have been saying that they want more diverse housing options. So we can't just have all big giant houses. There's not enough starter homes. There's not enough smaller homes. There's not enough duplexes. There's not enough rentals. There's no place to downsize to. And I know that I hear that from our community a lot. My daughter is 23. She's going to live with me forever probably, because the rent costs and the availability for young people. You know, another thing that's really important is the way that we achieve generational wealth is to be able to own real estate. And for a number of, if you're paying $3,600 a month rent, you're probably, if you're young, you're doing it with 4 or 5 friends. And the longer you're not able to buy a house because you can't save up for a down payment, you're really going to think about all the entrepreneurs that use their housing as collateral. Like, it really touches so many parts of our economy. One of the worst calls that I get are from people in this community. I'll give an example. There was a woman that sent me an email. She and her husband were renting a home. They had 3 children. One of them was medically fragile. Their landlord was going to sell the house, and they had to find a place to go. It was about a year ago. And she said she was up all night, sick to her stomach, figuring, where am I going to go? We can't just go find a place easily. And their child was receiving services in the Easton school. So it wasn't that easy to pick up and go somewhere else. And it was heartbreaking to hear, and there's nothing available. And that's just one example that I will say. I have a lot of people reaching out with those real tough questions on housing in our community. So I will say that's just
recording in progress.
That's just a pitch for that. But like I said at the beginning, this is something that we've been talking about in our community for a long time. Easton's been proactive. And when we look at, in the packet, when you look at the areas that they're contemplating, you're going to say, well, geez, there's already stuff existing. How are you going to build there? It doesn't mean that someone's going to come in and tear everything down in that area. It means that that's a targeted area where we think the housing would work best. And that's what the planning board is looking at. Where do we want the housing? And that's something that the community's been talking about for years. So like Connor said, it's not a mandate to build. It's not like the next day, all of a sudden, there's going to be cranes and wrecking balls in our community. But it is where do we want the development so that we can focus and be proactive about where we want it. So what I would say is, it's complex. It's a complex conversation, and I would ask people to watch more than one meeting, attend more than one meeting in person if possible, and reach out. Even if you can't make it to a meeting, watch them on TV or reach out to the planning board and get your questions answered. We don't want people coming to town meeting the first night that they've ever heard this and having to start from scratch, because I guarantee you people won't get the concept. It takes a while to really understand the details of this. And I want to thank the planning board for being proactive in tackling this and putting so many meetings on the calendar so that there's opportunity. Again, we really try to include the public, have them come to meetings, make it as available as possible, and I hope that people will take advantage of that opportunity. So, anybody else?
Great.
So again, these dates of the meetings will be on the website and all the updates on there as well.
Sorry.
All right, next up we have the Select Board annual license renewals for 2024. So we have a list of attached annual license renewals. This is a lot easier now that we have online permitting. I was on the board when we didn't have online permitting, and that was, doing that by hand was a thing of the past. So if anybody has any questions or comments, if not, we're going to recommend that the board approve the list as a slate, conditioned upon sign-offs from all required town departments and payments of any and all fees owed by licensees where applicable.
Dottie, the only question I have is, when the police department's done spot checks on some of the licenses and we've had repeat offenders, is everyone in good standing right now that is on the list?
Yes, so the select board's, excuse me, the select board has an established policy as far as the sanctions for failing a liquor sting, right? And so in that policy, it doesn't contemplate the inability to renew at the end of the year. There's usually sanctions imposed at that time. There are, for folks with significant reoffenses within a fixed number of years, I believe it's 4, the board publicly broadcasts through your policy that you maintain a right to revoke those licenses. So that would be the vehicle through which that would occur.
Okay, thank you.
And we will be having a hearing coming up.
Correct. There are liquor violation hearings scheduled for your next meeting.
Okay. January 8th.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any other comments or questions? And if not, I will take a motion to approve the slate for the liquor licenses.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger and Lamb, roll call vote. Craig?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes.
Just want to say thanks to Sean. It's his first year here as assistant town administrator, and while it is substantially easier on this end, a lot of the process is still the same of working with folks and chasing paperwork down, and he did a great job. So, but we are very happy that there is no longer a stack this high of.
I've seen the paper files. They're pretty extensive.
They're very ornate and pretty looking. It's very festive, but it usually would keep you here for an hour.
Another example of by the time it gets to us and the public, it's all, oh, that was easy, what a quick vote. And it's not that easy to get it from there to here. So yes, thank you, Sean. Great job. All right, we have a one-day liquor license for AIGA Alumni Dinner, Stonehill College, the Meehan School of Business, 320 Washington Street, April 26, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., with a rain date of April 27, 2024. They're looking for a one-day beer and wine license for this alumni dinner, and a police detail is not required. I don't see it here. It might be on the next page.
No, they have their own.
Yep. Okay. So would somebody like to make a motion to accept that?
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
That's Bodger and Lamb, and a roll call vote.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. Okay. Next, we have a Green Communities Committee appointment, Amy Spencer. This would be a term expiration of June 30th, 2025. Amy's information is in the packet. She has served on other boards and committees. I don't want to name them off the top of my head because I'll probably be wrong, but she was the only candidate for this, and we appreciate her throwing her hat in the ring. For the Green Communities, their mission is to help raise awareness, educate, advise, and motivate Town of Easton residents, residents and businesses to reduce waste, reduce energy use, conserve resources, reduce emissions, carbon footprint, and to embrace clean and renewable energy options. So we appreciate Amy wanting to serve on this committee. If somebody would like to make a motion in a second, and that'll be a roll call vote also.
Barger, yes. For Barger, yes for Amy Spencer.
You are making the motion.
Making a motion to appoint Amy Spencer to the Green Communities Committee.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, and now the roll call vote.
Barger, Spencer.
Lamb Spencer.
Stacy Spencer.
Stebbins Spencer.
And Fulgenetti Spencer. All right. Next, we have Human Rights Committee appointment. We do have an opening on the Human Rights Committee, and I'm just going to read a little bit about what that is on their charge. The mission of the Human Rights Committee is to promote Easton's vision of a community that has at its core values freedom from bigotry, hatred, intolerance, and disrespect, to build a stronger, more unified town that respects and recognizes both our diversity and our commonalities, to work with community groups and agencies to educate and promote understanding, to eliminate prejudice and intolerance, and to confront statements and actions that conflict with the core values expressed above. So we have two candidates on the docket tonight. Kristen Crowley is here. So Kristen, if you want to come up and just introduce yourself. We've met you recently.
Yes.
This is your second time.
This is my second time here. I feel like Stacy the first time and the second time. Still. So my name's Kristen. I was here a few months ago applying for the same Human Rights Committee. I just moved to Easton about 2 years ago. I've been very passionate about human rights for a very long time. The older I get, the more I feel that it's so important to actually get involved in these things, in these matters and things that you're passionate about. So, a lot of the problems that come along with human rights are very big, and it can feel very overwhelming to try to get involved in these things. And I think that this is a really good way to start getting involved in my own community, making sure that I am helping my community live up to my own values, which are the values that you just said, non-prejudice, non-discrimination, free from hatred, things like that, acceptance, making sure that people do feel accepted and included where they live, and feel safe where they live. I think that that's really important. So, yeah, so here I am.
Excellent. And you have the time, Craig, when does the committee meet?
First Tuesday of the month. It's on Zoom at this point.
Yeah.
Usually at 6 o'clock, I think, or 6:30.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in school, but I mean, I can make time. All my schooling's online as well, so.
Okay. And the committee is pretty hands-on for their events. They do several big ticket things during the year. They have LGBTQ event for Pride in the spring, which was incredibly well attended last year and this year, even more people.
Yeah.
But a number of other things throughout the year. So
Sure.
many hands are really involved in rolling up sleeves to make these big events happen.
Yeah, which sounds really nice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from anyone on the board?
The committee is looking for people who really want to get involved hands-on, not just come to meetings, but
Yeah.
get actively involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do. I think that that would be really good. I think that you have to be hands-on with things like that. You have to be out in the community. You have to be talking to people and learning what's going on in your community. And I think that it's a really good learning opportunity as well to see what the problems are, how we can help to fix them, to make sure that people are, happy living here.
One of the phenomena that I've noticed from committee members, especially with new people, so new people have their own new circle of friends that might not know, the people that are serving on the committee already. Sometimes people also bring their children, young children, older children, high school children, their friends, their neighbors. It really starts to build a lot of momentum. And one of the youth that are serving on the committee now, she's been a volunteer for years with her mother, who serves on the committee. So it was really nice to see that.
Yeah.
And I think that committee just has such great momentum. So, all right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will say that the second applicant, Michelle Durance, Michelle was the school committee's representative to the Human Rights Committee. And we had when we had this opening come up for a resignation, we didn't have anybody that had applied to be on it. So I asked Elizabeth to reach out to the previous candidates to see if they would be interested. So I essentially recruited you to come back for this. And then afterwards, Michelle said that she did want to serve on the committee. So I feel bad about that. You know, Michelle has done a great job on that committee, and I'm going to support you because I asked you essentially to apply for it. But also I hope that Michelle will still come back and volunteer, because you don't have to be actually on the committee to do the great work and to help execute a lot of these things. So, so I'm not sure if anybody on this select board has any comments or questions.
Yes. I've worked with Michelle on the Human Rights Committee for the time that she's been on it. I'm going to support her being appointed to that, reappointed to that committee. I just feel obligated to do that.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to make a motion to appoint Kristen Crowley to the committee. Does anybody want to second that motion?
Second, Stebbins.
So that's full Janetti Stebbins, and we'll do a roll call vote. And this is to appoint Kristen. So.
Okay, but I will vote for.
So in a roll call.
It's not. It's a vote to.
So it'd be a
appoint
yes or a
Kristen.
no.
So it's a yes or a no.
Okay, Barger, no.
Full Janetti, yes.
Lamb, no.
Stacy, no.
Stebbins, yes.
Okay, so that's 3 noes and 2 yeses. All right. So Craig, do you want to make another motion?
I move to appoint Michelle Durance to the Human Rights Committee.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb.
Barger, Durance.
Full Janetti, no.
Lamb, Durance.
Stacy, Durance, yes.
Stebbins, no.
So that's 3 for Michelle Durance. All right. So we're going to have to get you on there the next time.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for coming back.
I appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have the Finance Director and Audit Committee presentation for the final year 2022 audit.
Jen, you've switched hats and now you're.
Yes.
You've got a big night tonight. Wendy, hi.
Hi.
Good to
how are
see you.
Ready? Ready? Okay.
So we got a copy of the 250-page audit in our packet. If you could summarize that.
I'd be happy to. So the audit committee met last week, and we reviewed the results of the fiscal year 2022 audit. So these are for a time period that's going back 18 months. So a lot of these results the select board will already be familiar with because they were used in the development of this year's budget. So with that in mind, I don't think we need to belabor a lot of the details. Mr. Lamb was part of that long, robust meeting that we had last week, which goes over a ton of information. So we'll distill it down to
Very exciting information too.
So Wendy, is there anything you want to start off with?
I just want to start off by saying we met with Scott McIntyre, who is one of the partners from Markham. Markham, our previous audit firm was Melanson. They've merged with Markham. The partner in charge on the audit had been Ed Boyd, but he had left the firm. So Scott McIntyre stepped in. We've had Scott in past years, and typically what we do every so many years is we switch partners anyway. So for the next audit, if we go with Markham, we would be on track to switch to Scott as well. He just, he started out by saying that the audit went well. The books were found to be in good condition, and that we received a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements.
Great, and that's the most important, right? That's the piece we need, right? So if the answer's not that, then we have a problem on our hands. So so clean, unmodified opinion. The management letter is in process, but we're not expecting any material changes from the management letter. In the past few years, there were, while the general ledger closed in a timely manner, there are always some items outside of the general ledger that can take a while to close, like getting the fair value of certain assets, ambulance receipts, and then there were some accounting standards changes that needed to be applied in fiscal year 2022, particularly GASB 87, which is guidelines related to loan classification. And in the fiscal year 2023, there are two new sets of guidelines that will be adopted and will need to be folded into the fiscal 2023 audit. The audit committee does recommend extending the contract with Markham for at least one more year, especially given where we are in the audit cycle. So we do recommend that the select board approve them for one more year. The proposal for next year was, we thought, reasonable. There's a small price increase, but it's nothing outrageous or would seem out of line with the market. We did ask Wendy to see if, again, given how far along we are, what a 2-year contract would look like, to see if there would be any savings. One of the contract items is it's the school revolving account, right?
Right, the student activities.
Student activities account, which is not something that's done every year, so there is a flat fee for that. So I'm just checking to see if there would be any advantage if we were to do a 2-year contract and then go out for an RFP on a longer term contract. So we think it's time. We haven't done one in a few years, and especially with the merger into Markham. Markham is a national, well-known audit and accounting firm. No issues with that. They're not a firm that nobody's ever heard of or anything like that. But I think just good best practice to take a look and make sure that our fees are appropriate for the scope of the work that's being done. So overall, our bond rating remains AA3, which is high quality and low credit risk, and that is due largely to the continuation of prudent fiscal measures that the town has adopted and continues to practice. In particular, the unassigned balance, which is stabilization fund and free cash, stayed very close to the prior year balance, which had hit a high water mark, I believe, of 10.5 million. So it was down to 10.2, right? Down
just under
400,000,
10.2.
just under 10.2. So only down 400,000 over the previous year, which is was really great to see that held as a fiscal year 2022. 2023 could be a different story, but as of 2022, that unassigned balance was still quite high, or relatively high for Easton, and hits a benchmark for a good target for a municipality.
Right, that was represented like 12% of expenditures, so that's still a good target. Our financial goals or management policies targeted, I think, like 10%. So this is at 12%. So that's still really good. We did close the year pretty favorably, even though there was a change of just under 400,000 that the number was reduced by. That really had to do with a lot of planned spending for capital and use of free cash instead of borrowing for our capital purchases.
An update on the pension. So the pension, of course, is managed by the Bristol County Retirement System. The liability for fiscal year 2022 was reduced from 48 million in 2021 down to 38.5 million. There are a couple factors at play, both the market return, the fiscal 2022, so June 30th, 2022 is measured as of December of 2021. So markets were strong in 2021, and then interest rates were also favorable. So the higher interest rate reduces the liability, and then the strong markets also increase the market value. So you put those two together, and more of your overall liability is covered. So that reduces the overall liability. So that was favorable. Again, that's largely driven by market and interest rates, not things that are within the control of Easton. So it's sort of it is what it is, but it's nice when we have that number trending in the downward direction, but that could easily go up depending, again, on markets and interest rates.
I think the good thing about that too, though, is that we're funding that based on an actuarial valuation. So we're not just funding on a pay-as-you-go basis. We're also funding for the future. And Bristol County is on track to be fully funded in, I believe it's 2034.
That's great. Everybody's favorite topic, OPEB, other post-employment benefits, and that is, in our case, basically retiree medical. So the net OPEB liability for fiscal year 2022, so again, we're talking about a number, 18 months ago, was $135 million, which is an unimaginably large number, but 40 million less than what it was the previous year. And the biggest driver of that is the municipal bond rate. So because the amount that we actually have saved towards this liability is a small fraction of a percent, under $300,000, the liability is set using the 20-year municipal bond rate, and that was up over 4% at the measurement period. The previous year was around 2.5%, I believe, 2.2%. As of the previous measurement period. So similar to with the pension, when interest rates go up, your liability goes down. So as interest rates go down, one would expect to see liability increase. So it's a moving target, again, an extremely large number, and we are in very good company with most municipalities are nowhere near achieving a substantial funding of that. So we pay the benefits as we go. They're part of the town's operating budget. And the town is, has a policy in place, $25,000 a year still for
At least,
yep, to move into the OPEB fund. But as with a number that large, it's not going to close the gap anytime soon. But
I think last year we
not
voted
news.
to put a little bit extra in.
Yeah, so we have a recurring line item in the operating budget that we carry every year unless there's a major downturn, and then occasionally we do supplemental articles at town meeting with free cash to add extra in there as we go.
Okay, so I don't think there was really, I think that was kind of the highlights.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yep. Just as far as the management letter goes, there were no new comments. So in terms of any prior year comments that were in last year's letter, one of them was had to do with, again, you said timing issues, and really what that had to do with was writing up the investments to market value. We had been carrying them at book value, and then the auditors would go in and make an adjustment, but they want us to keep them at market value every month. So we've been doing that. That matter has been resolved. The other thing had to do with the reconciliation process for ambulance receivables. That has been taken care of, and we are in the process. There's a draft ambulance abatement policy that it's in draft form right now, but in the next month or so, that will be coming to the board for adoption. Again, that other article, the other comment had to do with just preparing for a GASB pronouncement, which had to do with leases, which was taken care of in those financial statements.
When do you think you'll have the management letter?
I would say in the next few weeks, I think.
Now, do you post the report and the management letter online?
We typically just do the financial statements, but I mean, we could post the management letter online if that's your preference.
I think that it's important to go back and see the growth from, here's what it was last year, here's what we checked off last year, if there's anything new the next year, that kind of thing. It shows the process for that. I remember a long time ago, the community really asked for that.
Right.
So I think it's important to show those.
Okay.
And then the
Just quick question, Jen. The audit cycle, and you mentioned where we are in it and the desire to stick with Markham. Can you explain where we are in the audit, like what that means in terms of like a timeline?
And I'll defer to Wendy on that because her office is the one that actually has to interact with the auditors and produce the reporting. So the books close June 30th, and they're off and running, and there's a lot of activity that she can detail, and then we do hit a point where if things are lingering, that the budget process takes place and makes it very difficult to get back to some of the audit pieces. So for example, this is normally, I think in past years I've been presenting to you maybe in August or September. So we're a little bit behind this year. As Wendy detailed some of those reasons. And they've been addressed, but it also gets into an overall cycle of the town's reporting and budgeting. So if you want to get a little more into it.
Sure. Yeah. It does take a long time to actually close a fiscal year out. So even though the year ends June 30th, you can still pay bills for the next several weeks. Then you have departments encumbering funds at year end. You've got to, make sure you tie everything out, submit all your reports to the state to get your free cash certified. And then at that point, you're basically like in the fall and you're getting prepared for your fall town meeting. So you're working on that budget. So the budgets, even though it's been passed, is still in the next year is still a work in progress. So at that point you're working, basically in like 2 years out of 2 years. So you've got your one system closing, you're getting ready for town meeting, and the tax rate, splitting the tax rate, there's a lot more analysis involved in that now. So that's one of the things, and then you start the budget process all over again. So that, we are lean with staffing, so that does certainly take up time. But that's why we're looking also to get the audit contract awarded so that we can get going on the audit for fiscal 23 sooner rather than later. And then, if we do a 2-year contract, then we'll have the audit contract for fiscal 24, which we're already, almost halfway through in place.
Yeah, and then the audit work can begin.
Right. But I think to Jamie's question, I mean, the idea, I believe, is to bring a contract back as soon as January.
Yes.
And basically get on top of the next audit.
Exactly.
Now.
Yep.
Immediately after presenting this one.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think ideally we've had a preliminary meeting with the auditors usually in the late spring, I think, and then kind of finalize everything and present to you all in the summer. So that's typically how it's gone. So we'd like to get back to that cycle. So getting them under contract to get off and running on that work will be helpful.
Got it. Yeah, thank you both.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Mark, you're the select board rep on that committee.
Thank you to Jen and Wendy. They do all the heavy lifting. And as you heard, there's a lot of information, a lot of stuff to analyze, and they do a fantastic job. So thank you.
Well, thank you for serving on that committee and being our eyes and ears and voice. All right, we need to, where am I?
There's no action or votes
No action on
required,
that.
but Dottie, you make a good point, and just for anyone watching at home, we always put full copies of our audited financials online for anyone to look at, going back, I think, at least 12 to 15 years now. Folks go to our website and go to residents and click financial information. Our budget books are there, capital planning documents are there, wage reports are there, and we put all of our audited financials out there as well. So
awesome.
Yeah, just if you go on the financial information page, just keep scrolling because
it just doesn't stop.
It doesn't. It has all the town meeting finance plans. There's a lot of information there. Even the credit rating reports from Moody's, those are on there as well.
Our bond issuance history is there as well.
And we'll, the meeting was recorded by ECAT, but we meet specifically after, even though we don't have any business, to get the minutes approved, so that the minutes are available on the town website in a timely manner. So we're scheduled to meet in early January after the holidays to get through the minutes, and we'll have those posted and available as well.
All right, great, thank you.
All right.
Well, we appreciate you staying for this long meeting tonight.
Yeah, happy to be here.
And I appreciate the clarity, and you made it very easy to understand the big report down to something palatable.
Yes.
All right, thank you, and thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, next, discussion and vote the execution of the purchase and sale agreement between the town of Easton and Stonehill College for the sale of 360 Washington Street, also known as Moreau Hall, by the town to the college, and to authorize Chair Dottie Fulgenetti to execute any and all related documents to effectuate the sale and all related transactions thereto. Honor?
Awesome. Thank you, Dottie. So, following town meeting's November 2022 authorization for the select board to issue an RFP for the sale of Moreau Hall, and the publication of that RFP to effectuate the same in August of this year, the select board reviewed and conditionally awarded that RFP to Stonehill College at a public meeting of yours on October 25th. That award was conditioned upon a successful negotiation of a purchase and sales agreement between the select board and Stonehill College. I'm pleased to report that that has since occurred. Final proposed purchase and sale agreement was provided to the board under separate cover. The terms of a purchase and sale are consistent with the requirements of the RFP that was public, that the board issued. It includes a purchase price of $2.3 million payable to the town, and it incorporates a development schedule with dates certain by which Stonehill College will use and later renovate the property in order to ensure the board's interest in the active reuse of the property. So I don't want to get into my thank yous I have planned before I see if there's any questions from the board on the materials that you've been provided. Most importantly of which that Mr. Barger has is a copy of the certified vote from council, but all the documentation has been reviewed by council. We've also gone through Granite City, who were our procurement support on the project. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any at this point.
No.
We're at the end.
I just appreciate the work that you and Dottie and folks did on behalf of the town. It's a lot of work, I know that.
Really was.
It was great collaboration. I'll let Connor do all the thank yous, but I think it was, there was a lot of involvement and a lot of different concepts that are not traditionally in some of these types of agreements, and Stonehill was a wonderful partner to it, and Connor, you can take it from there.
Sure. So I thank you to the board, and but also again voters for entrusting us with this process. Selling public property is a substantial process thanks to procurement law, which it ought to be. It's not something you want to be able to do kind of quickly and easily. You want to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. Would like to thank Town Council at Mead, Tellerman, and Costa, particularly Lisa Mead, who has been our kind of real estate expert throughout this. She's been excellent, as well as Granite City Partners, who are our procurement assistants. And again, our staff here, whether in DPW, inspectional services, health, have been really helpful with technical documentation, things of that nature to prepare the property. And Stonehill have been excellent partners, post submitting the bid, which we appreciate as well. So yeah, it's an exciting major milestone for the community, your last meeting of the year, so that lined up nicely, if coincidentally. And if there's no further questions, there's a motion for the board to consider that's been prepared by council.
I got it right here, so.
Go ahead, Craig.
You want me to read it, or is there any other comments or questions that folks have before I read it?
No?
No? Okay. I hereby move that pursuant to Article 9 of the November 14th, 2022 special town meeting, the town of Easton will sell that certain parcel of land for the building and improvements thereon in Easton, Bristol County, Massachusetts, located at 360 Washington Street, Easton, Mass., the premises as described in the deed from Brothers of Holy Cross, Moreau Hall, Incorporated, to seller dated January 14th, 1981, and filed with the Land Registration Section of the Bristol County North Registry of Deeds, the Registry, as document number 20754 on Certificate of Title number 6971 in Registration Book 33, page 15, to Stonehill College Incorporated for $2.3 million. And further, that the Select Board authorizes the Chair to execute and enter into any and all documents necessary to effectuate the sale of the premises, including but not limited to a certain notice of development agreement.
Second, Lamb.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, and we should do a roll call vote on this as well.
Bodger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes.
Excellent. Thank you. So
Big project.
this closing is scheduled for Thursday, and so we will keep the board posted. And
We had a good run, Morrow Hall. We had a good run.
we did. We did.
I was saying to Connor, we put up our Christmas tree this weekend, and I have a little Moreau Hall Christmas ornament from, I didn't even remember that we had it, but maybe that'll be worth something someday. All right, well, excellent. So we can move on to the next one, which is vote for approval of a conservation restriction from KGM Custom Homes for 58 Mill Lane, Owl Ridge Estates.
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, staff for planning are at meetings with their boards tonight, so I apologize if there are any detailed questions, but I'll do my best. As part of a Conservation Commission and Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Programs permits, approximately 9 acres of land are being donated to the Conservation Commission for a project at 58 Mill Lane known as Owl Ridge Estates. The preservation of the property will provide watershed protection, wildlife habitat, rare species habitat protection, scenic landscape protection, and climate resilience by sequestering carbon in the soil and trees. The land will remain in its natural state in perpetuity. The Conservation Commission is requesting the approval of the conservation restrictions. A copy of the agreement and details of the land were included in your packet. I recommend approval.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
No? All right, Craig, would you like to make a motion to approve this conservation
I
restriction?
move to approve the conservation restriction from KGM Custom Homes for 58 Mill Lane, Owl Ridge Estates, the amount of 9.07 acres of land.
Second, Lamb.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, and a roll call vote, Craig?
Bodger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. All right, next we have a big chunk of slate dedicated to the DPW. Come on up. A lot of contracts here.
Good evening again.
Sure. So Dottie, if the board's willing to consider the DPW contracts as a slate, those are items all under 13A, B, C. Yeah, just A, B, and C.
Just want to recognize Jennifer Carolino just came in. We just successfully voted on that restriction, so thank you.
Would you like me to go through them?
If you could just give us a high-level
Sure.
overview on all of these.
So the first contract is with Innovis Energy. This is for 2 dual-port EV charging stations at Town Hall. Total cost is $119,000, $867. Be paid for with capital appropriation from town meeting of $100,000, $15,000 in green communities, and $4,867 from municipal facilities capital. And we're also getting a grant of a utility incentive of $12,760 from National Grid.
Okay.
I just had a question. When I looked at the map, and you had to run the line all the way from the back of this building all the way over there. Is there any reason why we couldn't put it here?
One of the stations is going to be publicly available, and that's really the public parking area. So it made sense to do that. It has to be dedicated and available for public use.
Okay. And how does the public access it, and what's the process for?
So there will be a fee structure set up, similar to what just got set up at Blanche Ames. There'll be a payment system. So it's not free to charge. You have to pay for it. It will basically cover our costs. So a person who wants to charge can charge. And then there's also a charging port available for town vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, next, DPW 2023-27.
So this is a balancing change order for Lawrence Lynch. This basically concludes the court reconstruction project at Oliver Ames High School. It's a pretty small balance and change order. It's made up of many items that came up during the contract, but the change order is for $3,640.76. It kind of wraps up all the construction. The project is now complete, and it did come in under budget.
That's what we like to hear.
Yes.
Okay,
And they
great.
look amazing, so thanks for that.
And next one, DPW 2024-17.
Yes, so this, we did receive a grant of $30,000 from the Massachusetts Historical Commission. Unfortunately, we had previously signed a contract with Weston and Sampson. Per MHC rules, we had to void that contract and re-sign it. So that is what we're looking for here. We've since signed the contract. I think Connor signed that with MHC. So this is just to re-sign that contract with Weston and Sampson with the new terms and conditions required by MHC.
Okay, that's an easy one. All right, next, IT 2020.
Or no, sorry.
That is a slate, those three.
Those are the only three related to DPW.
Okay.
If the board would.
What about Sursage? Is that?
That our office
Usually
manages
it's
those.
administrative, usually, yeah.
Okay. All right, so can we get a motion to approve the slate for A, B, and C of item 13?
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger and Lamb, roll call.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. Excellent.
you.
And thank you for the amazing work the DPW is out there doing as we speak, and for taking a little time to come in to meet with us. It's really bad out there.
Yeah, it's, we really got hit pretty hard, like most communities in this area. We're not alone. Sometimes we are alone, but we're not alone this time. But we just ask everyone use, some patience. 49% of the town's without power, and restoration looks to be a little bit prolonged. We're doing everything we can to get everyone back up and running, but ultimately we cannot control the utility companies. And we have several roads closed right now. They'll be closed overnight.
Dave, can I just say, because I know there's a lot of folks, whether watching or but like myself, and I know there's a number of us without power tonight. What are some of the big challenges? Is there telephone poles that actually went down and are blocking roads? And
Yeah, so we've only had a couple snapped poles. Most of it are trees in wires across roads. So, or the trees are precariously leaning on wires where it's unsafe to put traffic on those roads. So that's really what we're waiting on. All the roads that had trees down that weren't not in wires have been cut and pushed to the side at least, so those roads are open. But the roads that are closed tonight are because we have trees and wires. National Grid tree crews were on site today, but they're kind of all over the area. The fire chief, myself, Deputy Director Swan, and the police chief all been involved with National Grid liaison. But again, we're dealing with a need for a lot of crews, and we're just not the only ones asking for that help. So,
And to just be clear, Dave, to add a little more detail, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the important part about the trees down and wires is that we can't clear those. We have to wait for Grid to certify that they're not electrified, and then their crews do it. So anything that we can do locally, we've already done basically as of tonight. And sometimes, Dave's right. So we all kind of joke internally. We're Tree City. We have a lot of tree cover in Easton. One of the downsides of that is we have a lot of outages, but we're not alone in this. I'm looking at MEMA's outage map right now, and the number's sitting at 217,000 without power in Massachusetts. And Bristol and Plymouth County in particular got hit really hard. There's some communities looking at
that's actually up from it was 148,000. I feel like a few hours ago. Now it's
217,000 right now, and you have communities pushing 99% with no power in some places. So Easton's down to about 49%, which is substantial, and we're on it. And it's cold comfort, but I think it is important people know resources are spread throughout the entire state.
Yeah, thank you for everything. Yeah, you and the team are doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and it's really a team effort between police, fire, and DPW to get everything triaged and try to get things restored. So,
thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, have a good night.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dave.
Guess it could be worse. It could have been snow, right? All right, next we have Item D and E are to IT. The first IT 2024-05 is Wally Computer Associates, and this is for 29 computers.
Sure, this is part of the annual or cyclical hardware replacement that is funded as part of our capital budgets every year.
And IT 2024-01 for Bulletproof Solutions for hardware, software licenses, and upgrade services.
So this is upgrading some servers and the software associated with it. We're in the process of moving to virtualizing and contracting out through managed IT services, many of our servers, but there will be certain types of data that we always should and will maintain locally, and so these will provide newer, more current servers for those data arrays.
Any questions on those?
Can I just ask a couple of questions? I don't know what some of this is, so I'm just curious. What's Hyper-V servers? What is that?
That is a virtualized server. I'm going to lean on Dottie and her expertise here as well.
Hyper-V is just the type of virtual server that it is. So
Okay.
it's the way they're configured.
All right. And the VMware platform?
That's a virtual machine, the type of, it's the platform for the virtual machines.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dottie.
Good question. There's a lot of jargon in here, but
There's a ton.
it's important to people that know IT will look and say, oh, I know what that is. All right, if somebody would like to make a motion to vote the slate for D and E of item 13.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger and Lamb.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Evans, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. Okay, item F is POL 2023-05, MHQ-PCC contract for a Dodge Chrysler Jeep, 3 Dodge Durangos as part of our capital budget.
Sure. There's a memo and contract in your packet from Police Chief Boone. This is part of our cyclical fleet replacement program that we fund through the capital program. That's a contract for 3 23 Dodge Durango all-wheel drives for the police department.
Okay.
I know I've asked this question before. What happens with the older ones? What's the process when we?
So I'm not exactly sure specifically with a police cruiser, but I know generally with any of our fleet that if the vehicles can be reused for administrative positions. So let's say you have like a community officer or you have a paramedic, the paramedicine program. You, if a vehicle is able, you could take it off the road, transfer it into one of those divisions. And when we don't have a public reuse for it, we usually auction it off through municipal or other public bidding and take those proceeds into a revolving fund. They're usually not high-value sales by the time we're done with them.
Okay, thank you.
Should we vote that on its own, or just the Sursage one?
Yes, Sursage is unrelated, please.
Okay. A motion to approve the police Dodge Durangos.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger and Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Evans, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. And the next one is Southeastern Regional Services Group, contract award for drug and alcohol testing services.
Sure, thank you.
January 1st, 24 to December 31st, 26.
So this is a Sursage contract award sheet. So Sursage procures on behalf of Easton and many other communities in the area, typically supplies in bulk, things that we all use, often relating to public works, things like asphalt, highway barrier, things of that nature. But also most of these communities employ folks with CDLs, and so they procure drug and alcohol testing as part of our CDL licensing requirements.
Any comments, questions? All right, Craig?
Move to approve Southeastern Regional Services Group, SERGI, contract award for drug and alcohol testing services, 1/1/24 to 12/31/2026.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger and Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Evans, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. Next is a discussion and vote for the intermunicipal agreements between the town of Easton and the towns of Dartmouth and Avon for fire department apparatus maintenance services.
Sure. So the board is very familiar with the form of these agreements at this point. These are 2 additional IMAs for fire apparatus, emergency motor vehicle technician services. One is with Dartmouth, the other is with Avon. You may recognize the name of the interim chief in Avon if you read closely. Starts with Kevin and ends with Partridge. These agreements would allow the Easton Fire to provide apparatus maintenance services to both towns. They're identical to other ones that the board has approved, that council has approved the form of. And the question perennially comes up, police, fire, DPW are spread thin tonight, so they're not here, but we did make sure to ask the obligatory Are we overburdening the capacity? The answer is no, because as with the other ones, this doesn't bind our staff to perform services for anyone else ahead of Easton's needs. It's only when they have any time available that we would do so.
And Chief Alexander is closely tracking the capacity, so they are watching us. All right. Craig?
Great news.
I'm sorry?
I said that's great news that we've got 2 more communities that are.
Well, I move to approve the intermunicipal agreement between the town of Easton and the towns of Dartmouth and Avon for the fire department apparatus maintenance services.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Seven, yes.
Full Janetti, yes. That actually could win one of those awards from Mass Municipal Association for innovation.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
You know I love awards.
Yeah.
It may. It may.
All right.
Very creative.
Next, we have the annual personnel plan update. Connor.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. So this is an item required each year by town charter. Due to its size, it's always sent separately. This year, it's 328 pages. The personnel plan is, for lack of a better term, it's an instruction manual on how to run a local government. I give a lot of credit to whoever drafted the town's charter in 1972, but it's been required of the town ever since then that this office submit a personnel plan working collaboratively with the Human Resources Board to the Select Board each year. It includes a salary plan, classification plan, the stratification of employees in their various units and their unions, and includes job descriptions and essential functions, knowledge, skills, abilities. Again, really everything to show you what each of these divisions across town government does. There's an index in there that shows what statute or financial appropriation each of these positions' authority derives from, whether it's state law, local bylaw. It's a really important document. It's not something that every community keeps, and it takes a tremendous amount of upkeep that I'll be the first to admit. I'm fortunate that Human Resource Coordinator Mary Southworth does, and I don't. She does a great job with it every year. So it's a comprehensive roster of all the positions. Only on the town side does not include school positions or boards and committees necessary to operate municipal government. It has all the collective bargaining agreement wage scales in there. And I could give a summary of the few changes this year for the board and then answer any questions. The number of non-union positions have increased modestly to about 22 3/4 full-time equivalent. The overwhelming majority of our workforce is unionized. This is up slightly since last year with the addition of, for the first time in our office, a part-time human resources assistant. So if you could believe it, this is what you get every year has been being done by one person in addition to all property casualty and risk management for forever. So we now have 1.5 staff in human resources. And also, because of a change in our population passing over the 25,000 threshold, the state no longer provides sealer of weights and measure services. So that's when you see those stickers on scales or gas pumps that somebody is verifying that it's actually giving you the amount that you're paying for. We now employ a person part-time to do that locally here through inspectional services because once you have more than 25,000 citizens, the state does not do that for you. That's, I think, 0.25 FTE position. So that's the only change to the non-union jobs. We did a wage and classification study for all of our clerical union positions as part of that bargaining agreement for fiscal 23, excuse me, through 25. So there's some new job titles and descriptions for that unit are attached. And then there's some basically housekeeping throughout current wage scales for fiscal 23 and 4 throughout the entire plan. We also, as with almost everything we do, put this online. If anyone in their free time wanted to build a local government, there's a handbook for it. So again, thank you to Mary. Happy to answer any questions the board has.
I think it's really good to take a look at this, cyclically, for you to review to make sure that that the job titles are accurate, that they're appropriate. These things change, they expand, they're modified, and that the pay scale is commensurate and competitive to other communities. So it's a lot of work, and really appreciate that.
Does the school do something similar to this under the charter?
I don't know. I'm sure the schools have various complex personnel files and org charts, but schools are separate under 150E, so the charter in Easton wouldn't speak to their personnel management.
So we don't need to take a vote to this. This is really just informational. And
Yes, I mean, you could vote to reject it. I don't know what would happen if you did, but if you do nothing, then it becomes effective 30 days later. So that's customarily been what boards have done.
I mean, it doesn't say that we could take a vote on there, but the consensus is that we all appreciate it.
Oh, no, yes, we're not asking for it.
I just think it's important to note in the minutes that the consensus is that the board supported this.
Sure.
Thanks, Mary.
If everybody feels that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank Mary
Thank
for all
Mary.
the work that she does.
Okay. All right, excellent. Next is, we have 3 resignations. So we have Christopher Butler has resigned from the Recreation Committee. That his term expires June 30th, 2025. Meredith Keach has resigned from the Swifts Park Steering Committee with a term expiration of June 30th, 2024. And Michelle McGee, she resigned from the Tricentennial Committee with a term expiration of June 30th, 2024. We will need to take a, you're looking at me, did I forget something? Or say it
I'm just
wrong?
thinking about whether it's slate or it's because it's different committees, it can't be a slate.
I think a slate is fine, but
I think
the
we could
acceptance
just-
of a resignation is
formality.
It's more ceremonial. The resignations are effective as soon as the clerk receives them. So a slate would be fine, I believe.
So just want to thank Christopher, Meredith, and Michelle for all their work on those committees. We really appreciate the time and talent that they bring forth. And these openings will be posted on the town's website for other people to volunteer to fill those. So Craig, if you want to make a motion.
So I move to accept the resignation of the slate.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, and we'll do a roll call vote with Slate as the.
Bodger slate.
Lamb slate.
Stacy Slate.
Stebbins slate.
Full Genetti slate. Excellent. All right, town administrator notes.
I just want to say thank you to the fire department for driving Santa around town for, I think, 12 hours on Saturday. That was pretty awesome. Thank you to the staff and to the union as well, because I think they spearheaded that. That was a really nice, nice touch for the community. And I know it was really well received, so we appreciate it. And of course, thanks to police, fire, DPW, inspectional services. Those staff are going to be busy all week with cleanup from this weather event. So we're thinking of them. And thanks to all the staff and volunteers who make the town run. We've had another great, productive year, and I'm happy to be a part of this team. So.
Craig?
I was saying to Dottie earlier that I had the occasion to meet Santa at Big Y the day before, and was very excited. And I completely forgot about it and missed it completely. So but it was nice to see Santa there.
He's busy in Easton.
Yeah.
Mark?
No comments.
Jen?
No, nothing other to add other than this, and I think it was really awesome. Like, my kids were just having me refresh the phone every couple minutes to make sure we did not miss him, even though they promised them we'd hear him coming down the street.
Yeah,
which we
having
did.
the live Google map was clutch.
That was awesome. That was really fantastic. So yeah, it was just so well done, and the excitement was like. At first I was like, oh, like, you know, people are gonna like remember, and then like our street, like everyone came out of the house. It was really like a big event. So fantastic work, and thank you to everybody who's gonna be working around the clock for the next couple days to clean things up around town and beyond.
Yeah, I agree. Just the sentiment for DPW, fire, police, and just driving through the intersection of 106 and 138 tonight. No lights there, and we've got an officer directing traffic. That's a dangerous intersection when the lights are working. So we know that a lot of these folks are in harm's way all day and tonight, and until all of this gets resolved. So wishing them all safe. That they all be safe.
Thank you. I appreciate you for pointing that out. It's something that doesn't always jump to the forefront. So I just wanted to thank everybody. This is our last meeting of 2023. This time just flies. And Connor and I and Sean and Elizabeth were putting together the agenda for this last week. And we started kind of thinking about like, oh, here's some of the really cool things that we did this year. So I have this long page of things that we did, but I'm just going to read through and pull off the highlights. I'm going to say it fast, but I think what we're going to try to do is put this in the town crier as a special notice so that people can look at it and think about it, because this is like amazing stuff. So I'm going to start with students moved into the Blanche Ames School on Schedule, in 2000, as forecasted in 2019. The community mental health liaison started. Wayfinding was implemented around Easton. Doesn't that seem like it was a long time ago?
Yes.
The second round of ARPA funded TAC and SERVS Fund Open, where we dispersed $150,000 to seniors, individuals with disabilities, veterans, and dependents. Easton Cares, the community at risk of empowerment team, established to formalize regular meetings of public health, safety, paramedicine, and town hall staff to review and strategize to meet high-risk individuals where they are and in a non-emergency and supportive setting. Town meeting okayed a rooftop solar for Blanche Ames, advancing energy initiatives. The Civil War Monument was successfully moved. Again, that feels like it was years ago. And it really transformed that. Juneteenth rededicated that monument with our partners, Raising Multicultural Kids, the Human Rights Committee, the VFW, the Legion, and the Town Hall exterior restoration project was completed using CPA money. Depot Street tip was completed using state tip funding. Easton has tornado responses now. We had tornadoes in Easton. The police department leaves the civil service and adopts body-worn cameras, receives accreditation. Partnering with the schools, Easton joins Interface for mental health referral services. Health and Community Services programming rolled out the Inclusion sports programming for adaptive sports programs for children of all abilities to expand equitable access to these programs. Blanche Ames ribbon cutting, the community celebration following construction of the that was $10 million plus under budget. Easton Shoveltown Cultural District end of summer concert series brings 1,000 people to our downtown. Sean Dugan joins us as our new assistant town administrator. Pickleball, tennis, basketball courts complete through CPA-funded construction. DPW did that in-house design and project management. The Community Choice Aggregation Plan concluded, saving ratepayers more than $10 million in electricity costs over 3 years. Voters approved $150 million debt exclusion for new police, fire, and DPW, along with a senior relief tax package to go along with it. Let me see, this includes the 50-year lease of the 5 acres of Stonehill property. Town meeting moves $830,000 to a stabilization fund, which is our highest stabilization balance ever at $6.7 million. Easton received the GFOA budget recognition for the 3rd time for our fiscal year 24 budget. DPW completes in-house replacement of septic system at Town Hall, along with an underground drainage system. Nadine DePillo joins our office as the first human resources assistant. All 3 PFAS water treatment plants are operational and in full compliance with PFAS water regulations. And Morrow Hall is going to be sold to Stonehill College, pending our vote tonight. That's all in 1 year. That's amazing stuff.
That's extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary.
I just want to thank this board for continually moving these projects forward, working with the town administrator and the people of Easton that continue to show up. They vote, they support these initiatives, and I know that, as we come back to post-COVID, it's tough. Jamie and Mark, you guys travel a lot for work. We're able to use Zoom. We have to kind of still adapt, but everybody on this board is a great contributor, and I really appreciate that. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dottie.
Dottie, and for your leadership as well, so thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we have an executive session under Purpose 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property of land situated at 69 Howard Street. We have 360 Washington Street on here, but we've already talked about that in open session, so we don't need to have the executive session for that, just letting people know at home. But we will adjourn into executive session, not to return to open session tonight, but we will talk about this at our January 8th meeting, and we'll let the public know how that we voted. We will take an official vote at that meeting for this particular project. So we would take a motion to adjourn, and then it's a roll call vote.
So moved,
Sorry,
Roger.
just to be clear, a motion to enter into executive session, not to return to open session.
So moved, Barger.
Second.
Bodger and Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. And Happy New Year.